Imagine this. A crowded Los Angeles street. Horns blaring. People moving fast. And in the middle of it all, an elderly woman, terrified, struggling with two aggressive cops grabbing at her arms. People stop and stare, phones come out, but nobody moves. Nobody dares. Nobody, except one man. And that man was Keanu Reeves. Yeah. John Wick himself. Neo. The guy who gives up his seat on the subway. And today? He wasn't acting. He wasn't reading a script. He was about to give the world a real-life hero moment that no one would ever forget. What happened next? Let's break it down. It was supposed to be just another Thursday in downtown Los Angeles. You know the scene, the constant buzz of traffic, street vendors shouting over the noise, the smell of hot dogs mixing with car exhaust, and tourists everywhere with their phones out, taking selfies in front of buildings they don't even know the names of. But on this day, in the middle of all that everyday noise, something happened that no one expected. Something that started small, a single argument on the sidewalk, but grew into something huge. It began with raised voices near a crosswalk outside an old apartment building. Two LAPD officers stood over an elderly woman, their radios hissing, their body language tense, their faces locked in that serious we're-in-charge expression that makes everyone around nervous even when nothing's happening. The woman couldn't have been more than 5 feet tall, gray hair tucked under a worn blue hat, one hand gripping her tattered purse like it was her lifeline. Her other hand was raised defensively in the air. "I'm just going home," she said, her voice trembling but defiant. "We told you to move along," one officer barked, stepping forward. "You're trespassing." "Trespassing? This is where I live," she shot back, eyes wide with fear and frustration. "You can ask anyone here. I've lived here longer than you've had that badge." But that didn't seem to matter to them. One officer reached out, gripping her by the wrist, hard enough to make her stumble. The other officer moved like he was going to push her away or possibly cuff her. No care for her frail balance, no thought that maybe they were escalating something that never needed to be escalated in the first place. And that's when the crowd noticed. People walking by slowed down. Conversations stopped mid-sentence. Phones came out, lenses focusing, shaky hands starting to record. But nobody stepped in. Not yet. Not because they didn't care, but because of that all-too-familiar feeling, what can I really do against a badge? That hesitation. That nervousness. That fear of becoming the next video. But one man did step forward. At first, nobody even noticed him. Just another guy in the crowd, jeans, sneakers, plain t-shirt, baseball cap pulled low over his eyes. Another pedestrian, standing at the edge of the sidewalk, watching. But then someone whispered, sharp and sudden, like spotting a celebrity in disguise, "Wait, is that?" And then another voice, "Bro, that's Keanu Reeves." Now, the air changed. The tension in the street didn't break, but it shifted. Suddenly it wasn't just two cops and one frightened elderly woman anymore, it was two cops, a crowd of witnesses, and John Wick himself. Keanu didn't make a scene. Didn't scream. Didn't shove. Didn't wave his arms or play the Hollywood hero. Instead, he did exactly what you hope someone like Keanu Reeves would do in a real-life moment like this. He stepped forward, calm. Controlled. Cool. "Excuse me," he said, voice steady, not loud, but perfectly audible, the kind of voice that makes everyone stop what they're doing because they want to hear what happens next. Both officers paused, confused by the interruption. One of them turned with that classic irritated cop face, ready to bark back at whoever was butting in. But then, recognition hit. It was him. The man behind the Matrix. The assassin who took down entire crime families in the John Wick films. The celebrity everyone knew didn't play the Hollywood fame game, the one who drove to his movie sets in regular cars, gave away millions in secret, and spent his birthdays alone with cupcakes for strangers. And now, he was standing right here in LA, on this ordinary street, stepping between their uniforms and a terrified old woman. "Is everything okay here?" Keanu asked, eyes sharp but tone respectful. Because from where I'm standing, it doesn't look right. Those words hit different. The crowd leaned in. More phones raised. Social media posts were already uploading in the background. Some people were whispering, others just frozen, waiting to see what would happen next. Nobody knew it yet, not the cops, not the old woman, not even Keanu, but this wasn't going to be a random moment forgotten by lunchtime. This was the start of something viral. Something no one could have predicted. And the best part? Keanu Reeves was just getting started at first, it didn't even feel real. It's not every day you're standing on a Los Angeles street corner watching Keanu Reeves calmly approach a confrontation like he just walked out of a movie scene. But that's exactly what was happening. 1 second, the cops were roughing up an elderly woman like she was some kind of threat, ignoring her shaking voice, ignoring the crowd gathering around them. The next second? Neo stepped out of the Matrix and into reality. Keanu didn't move fast. He didn't rush. That wasn't his style. It was worse, he moved slow, like someone with absolute control, like someone who knew this wasn't going to be solved with fists or shouting, but with something even stronger, presence. And presence? Keanu had it in spades. As he stepped forward, the tension was sharp enough to slice through. One of the cops, the younger one, squared his shoulders and turned, ready to put Keanu in his place with the usual bark cops use when they don't recognize who they're talking to. Step back, sir. This doesn't involve you. But the other officer? His jaw slackened. Recognition dawned across his face like slow horror creeping up his spine. Wait, are you? Keanu gave the slightest nod, eyes never leaving theirs. Yeah, he said. It's me. That was the moment everything shifted. It was like watching the ground underneath those cops turn to sand. The young officer who had been ready to bark orders suddenly faltered, realizing that the whole dynamic had just flipped in an instant. You know that feeling when you're arguing confidently, thinking you're the smartest one in the room, and then suddenly realize everyone else knows something you don't? That was this moment, times 1,000. Now the phones weren't just filming an elderly woman being mistreated. They were filming Keanu Reeves stepping in, not for a movie scene, not for a viral prank, but because it was the right thing to do. The older cop tried to regain control of the situation. She was causing a disturbance, he said, voice lower now, cautious. This is official police business. Keanu didn't raise his voice. He didn't flinch. But his next words? They hit harder than any punch. Official police business, Keanu repeated, his tone sharper now, is supposed to be protecting people. Not hurting grandmothers on public sidewalks. Boom. Right there. That was it. That line echoed through the crowd like a shot fired into silence. The phones zoomed in closer. Someone in the back actually whispered, "Did you hear that?" Now it wasn't just two cops versus a scared woman. It was two cops versus Keanu Reeves and Los Angeles. The elderly woman looked up at him, stunned, like she couldn't quite believe who was standing between her and two armed officers. Her wrinkled hand clutched the edge of his sleeve, steadying herself, grounding herself in this completely unreal moment. Keanu glanced down at her and gave a small, reassuring smile. No cameras, no grandstanding, just that gentle, genuine look we've all seen in his interviews, the same energy that makes people say, Keanu's different. That smile wasn't for the cameras. It was for her. And now the officers knew they were trapped. You can keep escalating, Keanu said softly, deadly calm, but it's all on camera now. All of it. And the world's watching. And he was right. Because by now, at least a dozen phones were live streaming. TikToks were already hitting feeds. Hashtags were being typed in real time, hashtag Keanu protects, hashtag real life hero, hashtag Keanu versus cops. The officers stood there, red-faced, boxed in by their own arrogance, realizing what the rest of us already knew: you don't mess with John Wick in public and expect to win. The younger cop, still clinging to what little control he had left, opened his mouth to say something, maybe to threaten or deflect, but the crowd was no longer having it. Voices started rising behind Keanu. Let her go. Why are you arresting someone's grandma, man? You're about to go viral for the worst reason possible. Keanu stayed still, breathing easy, letting the weight of the moment sit heavy on the cop's shoulders. It doesn't have to go this way, Keanu said finally, his voice low but carrying. You can do the right thing. Right now. The two officers glanced at each other. Decision time. And right there, in front of a growing crowd, flashing phones, and the most beloved action star of a generation, they realized they only had one real choice left. Silence. That thick, electric kind of silence that happens right before something explodes. Two cops. One elderly woman. And now. Keanu Reeves standing between them, like a calm storm about to break open. At that moment, it was like the city itself hit pause. No more honking horns. No more chattering tourists. Just people frozen in place, holding their breath, waiting to see which way this moment would break. And then, someone spoke. From the back of the crowd, a voice cut through the tension like a spark in a dry forest. Let her go. Another voice added, You're messing with Keanu Reeves, bro. The officers froze, eyes darting around. This wasn't just bystanders with phones anymore, this was the beginning of something way bigger. The whole street was turning against them. And Keanu? Still calm. Still steady. Still deadly focused on the elderly woman, who was gripping his sleeve like it was the only solid thing in her world right now. Her hand trembled, knuckles pale against the fabric of his t-shirt. Ma'am, Keanu said gently, his tone soft enough to lower the tension, but firm enough to signal exactly who was in control now. You're safe. You're with me. The moment those words left his mouth, phones caught it from every angle. Within minutes, that short sentence would go viral, shared, quoted, memed, you're safe. You're with me. Simple. Powerful. Perfect. One of the officers made a last-ditch effort to take back control. His voice barked out like someone on the edge of panic. Sir, you're interfering with police work. Step back. But no one was buying it anymore. Another bystander shouted, interfering? You're arresting somebody's grandma, man. Where's the disturbance? Standing still on a sidewalk is a crime now? And then, it happened. One woman in the crowd went live on Instagram, captioned, Keanu standing up for a helpless grandma. We don't deserve this man. In seconds, that livestream was being screen recorded, reposted to TikTok, stitched with memes, blasted across X, Twitter, and uploaded to YouTube under dramatic titles like, Keanu saves elderly woman from LAPD harassment hero in real life. It was like someone had kicked open the door to viral internet culture and screamed, go nuts. The younger cop, face now bright red, visibly sweating, glanced down at the elderly woman's wrist still in his grip. And then he did something no one expected. He let go. Not with an apology. Not with grace. Just a defeated, clumsy release, like someone who knew they were losing a fight but was too stubborn to admit it yet. His partner followed, stepping back, face pale, lips pressed tight in frustration. They were realizing finally that they weren't in control of this anymore. Keanu was. But here's the wild part, Keanu didn't gloat. He didn't smirk. He didn't say, I told you so. He just stayed focused on the woman, steadying her as she sat down on a nearby bench. Her breathing was shallow, her hands shaking, but when she looked up at him, her eyes said everything. Gratitude. Relief. And disbelief. Thank you, she whispered, voice raspy but full of meaning. I didn't know what to do. Keanu knelt next to her, placing one calming hand on her shoulder. You don't need to do anything now, he said gently. We've got you. And that was it, the moment sealed. A Hollywood icon not behind sunglasses at some red carpet event, but here, on a street corner in LA, protecting someone nobody else was brave enough to help. Meanwhile, the cops stood awkwardly nearby, stuck, trapped by their own actions, watching helplessly as the crowd closed in, not with violence, but with something worse for them in 2025, full exposure. And if you know anything about the internet these days, you know, exposure is death. But for Keanu? It was just a regular Tuesday. By the time Keanu helped the elderly woman sit safely on that bench, the real storm was already brewing, and not in the streets, but online. It didn't take long. Phones had been rolling from every angle. Within minutes, the first clips hit TikTok. Then came Instagram. Then X, Twitter, where hashtags started forming like lightning strikes in a summer storm. Hashtag Keanu saves, hashtag real life hero, hashtag protect grandma, hashtag Keanu versus cops. Someone even uploaded a slowed down, cinematic version of the clip. Black and white, dramatic music playing, Keanu's calm voice echoing, "You don't need to do anything now. We've got you." People were eating it up. By the time news outlets caught up, it was already too late. The narrative was written, and it was simple: cops were harassing someone's grandmother. Keanu Reeves stepped in. Cameras caught everything. And honestly, you couldn't script a better story if you tried. What made it even worse for the LAPD was the angle of the footage. There was one shot in particular, taken from just over Keanu's shoulder, capturing the moment one of the cops grabbed the woman's wrist while she pleaded to be let go, framed perfectly with Keanu's face turning toward the camera, sharp, clear, furious in that quiet, cold way that lets you know someone means business. "Is everything okay here?" That line became the meme of the week. People were making shirts already. Stickers. Someone remixed it into a techno beat that was climbing Spotify's viral charts within hours. Even celebrities started reposting it. One by one, "Keanu for president." Tweeted by a major pop star. "This is why he's everyone's favorite human being." Posted by a Hollywood director. "He's not the hero we deserve, but the one we need." Shared by a famous comedian. Meanwhile, the LAPD's PR team was scrambling. Within 2 hours of the clip hitting major platforms, they issued a bland, corporate-style statement: "We are aware of an incident involving 2 of our officers in downtown Los Angeles today. The matter is under review. We take these concerns seriously, yeah. Sure. But the internet didn't care about statements. They cared about Keanu." Within 4 hours, full articles hit TMZ, Daily Mail, and Variety. Keanu Reeves defends elderly woman from LAPD harassment, goes viral worldwide. John Wick? More like Saint Keanu. Fans crown Keanu the real-life Neo after heroic act on LA streets. You couldn't write better PR if you hired a team of 50 experts. And then? The real hammer dropped. A random bystander, one of the first to start filming, started a GoFundMe for the elderly woman. Just titled, "Help Grandma After Police Harassment Incident." The original goal, $10,000 to help with rent and legal expenses. It hit $50,000 in 30 minutes. By the next day, it was pushing $300,000. Strangers were commenting things like, "She deserves peace. No one should go through that. Keanu, we love you, but let's help her too." Keanu never promoted it. Never shared it. Didn't take credit for it. Because that's who he is. While other celebrities might have posted 20 Insta stories milking the moment, Keanu disappeared from the scene like a ghost, like someone whose job was done. The 2 officers involved? Placed on administrative leave by the end of the day. News helicopters started flying over their precinct the following morning. Talk shows ran heated debates over police conduct, celebrity responsibility, and whether Keanu was secretly just John Wick in disguise. Meanwhile, the memes kept rolling: "Protect Keanu at all costs. If I'm ever in trouble, I hope Keanu shows up." And somewhere in Los Angeles, Keanu Reeves was probably riding his motorcycle down some empty street, not smiling, not soaking it in, not even checking his phone. Why? Because for him, this wasn't about likes. It wasn't about clout. It was just about doing the right thing. That's why this moment hit people so hard. Because deep down, everyone watching wanted to believe that heroes like this could exist, not just on movie screens, but right here, in real life. And that's exactly what Keanu just gave the world. As the dust settled over downtown Los Angeles, one thing was crystal clear: Keanu Reeves didn't just step in to stop injustice that day. He stepped up into a whole new kind of legacy. Not as a movie star, not as a celebrity, not even as John Wick. but as something rarer, a real-life hero. And the world felt it. By the next morning, the clip of Keanu standing between those two cops and that terrified elderly woman wasn't just viral, it was cultural. It was bigger than a meme. It was bigger than entertainment gossip. This was one of those moments that people would remember years from now. Parents started showing it to their kids. Teachers were sharing it in classrooms, talking about courage, kindness, and doing the right thing even when no one else does. Even politicians started chiming in, not with the usual fake outrage, but real admiration, in a world full of bystanders, via Keanu. And the wildest part? Keanu still didn't say a word about it. No tweets. No press tours. No dramatic interviews breaking down how he felt. Nothing. Why? Because he didn't need to. The clip spoke for itself. And that's why the love for him hit differently. We've seen celebrities do good things before, but usually with cameras rolling, PR teams polishing every word, and hashtag campaigns lined up before they've even helped. Keanu didn't even try to go viral. He was just being himself. And because of that, his legend grew. Across social media, people shared personal stories of Keanu's kindness from years earlier. He once paid for my mom's car repair when we were stranded outside LA. Never told anyone. Worked on a set with him. He used to eat lunch with the crew, not the cast. Zero ego. The more people dug into his life, the more it became obvious, this wasn't a one-time thing. This wasn't for attention. This was patterned behavior. Meanwhile, the GoFundMe for the elderly woman continued to skyrocket. Local lawyers volunteered their time for free to help her. Activists got involved. Interviews started coming in, not with Keanu, but with her. And when reporters asked her how she felt about Keanu stepping in, she smiled softly, shaking her head in disbelief. I didn't know who he was at first, she said. But I could tell, he was good. You don't have to know someone's name to recognize a good heart. Bars. Now think about that. The elderly woman didn't care about his movies, didn't care about Hollywood. She cared about how he made her feel when she was at her most afraid. That's real respect. That's legacy. And the cops? They were already being investigated by their department. News reports started digging into their records, finding complaints filed by other citizens going back years. See, that's the thing about going viral in 2025, you don't just get caught for the one thing you did today. The internet will find everything you've done wrong going years back. But this story wasn't about their downfall. It was about Keanu's rise. Or maybe not even his rise, because he didn't rise into this moment. He was already there. People just got reminded. One headline summed it up perfectly: Hollywood has movie stars. The world has Keanu Reeves. That headline alone was shared millions of times. And you know what makes this story stick in people's heads? It's not the drama. It's not the cops. It's not even the viral clips. It's that everyone watching that video imagined the same thing: if I was in trouble, I'd want Keanu to be there. That's a feeling you can't fake. That's a reputation money can't buy. That's character. No staged speeches. No Oscar-worthy monologue. Just one good man doing the right thing when nobody else had the guts to move. No stunt double. No director yelling action. Just Keanu, stepping into the scene of real life like a king who doesn't need a crown. In a world full of headlines about greed, violence, and corruption, sometimes one moment of real kindness can flip the script entirely. Keanu flipped it. And walked away without asking for applause. If you want more real-life stories that restore your faith in humanity, make sure you subscribe, hit that bell, and join the community. Because around here, we don't just watch heroes, we tell their stories.